This is the podcast, not an interview. This is a conversation. No gimmicks, just reasons. 84 reasons. Come holler at me. What up, everybody? I am Ben Truth. This is 84 Reasons. No games, no gimmicks, just reasons. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Hit that like button. But every week we sit down with former Gators, current Gators, future Gators. But sometimes, man, we got to know what makes, we want to see the eyes. Is it the wizard behind the curtain? We trying to see what makes it all go. This man has the best name as names go. Director of NIL and strategy for them Florida Gators. If you're not a Gator, it don't matter anyway. The great Ben Chase. What's going on with you today, Ben?
Yeah, I guess I'd be the litigator or the instigator or the agitator. One of the three. I don't know. But yeah, thank you for having me on. It's all about the Benjamins here today. I'm grateful. Also, shout out to Ryan, who I've known for a while in the back end here. So just new friends and old friends today. I appreciate it.
Ben, we are in the age of NIL. Jumped on the scene now, 2021, I want to say, when it first really became throughout the nation. You are the director of NIL strategy. To those who hear that and say, what does that entail? What would be your answer to those people inquiring about your gig?
Yeah, I mean, we're about 2 weeks away from the 2-year anniversary. So it's July 1st, 2023. I'd say that, my role, I've been here since January 23rd, so about 5 months now, is to bring some structure and alignment on all sides, from donors, fans, boosters, creative, coaches, athletes, and kind of help whoever needs, any stakeholders that wear the Gators logo when it comes to NIL. For example, right now in front of me, I have my little digital notebook thing, and before you hopped on the call, I'm emailing basically every coach right now with some new opportunities and materials that we're going to be sharing for the 2023-2024 seasons and school year.
Education is not something that people want to hear when they hear the terms NIL, but it seems to me you educating yourself to be able to have the answers to some of these questions that you probably get every day, all day. How do you make sure that you stay on top of what's going on with NIL that seems to be changing as we speak?
Well, between, obviously reading and keeping up on it, I'm actually a part of a group of 40 or 45 directors of NIL across the country. And we have a monthly Zoom just to talk about basically best practices. I actually took over as one of the 3 leaders of the call now. So that's kind of cool. So the next one is this Wednesday. And besides that, I can text, any of the, attorneys that you see on Twitter or some of the blogger boys from On3 or whatever, and just say, hey, what's going on? I had a call earlier with someone from On3 just about some of the stuff there and the narratives they're pumping out. So I try to keep my relationships across the board as friendly and as nice as possible. And then from I'm sick when it comes to being obsessed with this. And, there is an attachment to winning with NIL. So besides the education and the best practices and the compliance part, I want to be able to show that Florida is the best place to be when it comes to maximizing your opportunities to profit off your name and image likeness.
Speaking of, maximizing off your name and image likeness, perception when it comes to NIL is through the roof. You can ask 100 people what NIL is, they'll give you 100 different answers. But misconception about NIL is what you probably run into. What is the biggest misconception about NIL?
That it's ruining the game. I think that coming out of COVID, the transfer portal, NIL, all happened at the same time, and it shook up a lot of rosters. But it also, today I actually met with a coach and their assistant one-on-one, and I'll tell you that NIL is actually, I would say, brought more people to the table, and we're moving forward together, and it's exciting. And I've only been in administration for 4 or 5 months now, but I'll tell you that it's not ruining the game, 1. And 2, that every person that works at a university on the athletic side, every building that is built for sports is because of you, Ben, and because of the other athletes you've had on this podcast. They should be able to profit off of that. They should be able to make money off of that. I went to a conference last week and I was invited to speak on NIL, and the people in front of me were talking about the IRS and audits and everything. And I just came up and I was like, all right, I got to like change the temperature of the room. I said, this is pretty cool. Like, that's how I started my conversation. I said, it's pretty cool that we're all in this room and we all have the opportunity to be here because of athletes, because of these people that are professionals at their craft, that are spending 10,000 hours or more to go to college, to potentially go professional. And I don't think it's ruining the game at all. It's putting light on things that, you know, in the past were being done, you know, in McDonald's bags, right? And now NIL, now it's legal, and we're, you know, it's a shakeup, you know, and I think that everyone's trying to do a money grab. There's a lot of companies that were here 5 months ago that don't exist anymore, right? So that's another part of it. The truth, you know, you going out there and building a company, right? Like, we have athletes on campus that started their business. They weren't allowed to do that 2 years ago. Is that crazy? You know, if I was a podcaster and you were a podcaster in college, we were roommates, because you played football, you couldn't make a dime, but I could make, and we could podcast about Pokemon, right? Like, but I could make money off it and you couldn't. That's like crazy to me. So it's not ruining the game, and it's important and it's special, and it's here and it's not going anywhere.
Man, why do people have such a big boogeyman type thing when it comes to NIL? Like, you hear things, yeah, the IRS going to do things, politicians talking about it, Nick Saban is meeting, he's in DC or whatever. Why is it? It seems as though the person who's should be directly benefiting, they keep on giving them all this negative news to kind of like make them, do they think they're going to scare these athletes away from wanting to benefit from it?
Well, you know, what do they say? More money, more problems, right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where, you know, there's new money in the system, and it's money that has been more than well-deserved for our athletes. But there are, you know, I would say that one of the biggest things is, you know, our athletes now and students across the board are taking out credit cards and racking up crazy loans and debt. And in this situation, a lot of the deals that have been made are 1099. So you're getting all that money and they're not holding any taxes, right? So that part of it too. And then there's a lot of shady dealers. I'm sure you know personally bad agents that you've heard from when you were a professional. Well, now Joe on the side of the street can call up his roommate and say, hey, can I be your NIL agent? I'm going to take 55% and everything in perpetuity, which means forever. And like there are athletes right now that are in litigation, like with their NIL agent who says, yeah, and when you become a professional, that team has to pay me and then I'll pay you. And so that's some of the stuff we're not trying. Like, for me, it's like, I'm not trying to scare the athletes at all. I'm just saying, hey, let's get ahead of this, right? Let's, you know, and then I made the example when this first became a thing. It's very similar to the craze of YouTube. So YouTube became crazy, you know, and all these young influencers blew up. And again, it's a money grab. It's, you know, it's 1849, the gold rush. And all these management companies were like, yo, let me help build your company. Let me help build your YouTube channel. Let me help build your brand as an athlete, but I'm going to take all of it. I know YouTubers that lost their entire channel because they signed one little paper, right? So for me, it's like, we just got to make sure that the bad actors out there are prevented and our athletes are protected.
When you get into, when you become the director of NIL and strategy, and obviously, like you said, education is what you do the best. But there's a lot of athletes, and not every athlete has the same, you know, mystique. They don't have the same, you know, leverage, as I like to call it, name and image leverage. Well, how do those conversations happen? Because like you said, you know, listen, man, I'm not here to tell you, I'm here to make sure you protect yourself, because decision you make in 2023 will have ramifications in 2033, depending on, but, you know, everybody don't play quarterback. Everybody don't play football. How do those conversations, because these parents hear NIL, you know, and they say, well, I want my son or daughter to get $100,000 a year, and you have to break it down and say, number one, that's not how it works. And number two, financial literacy should be a class that they take for all 4 years, because as we know, they had no debt without NIL. They could walk out of here with more debt than people that's not on scholarship.
Yeah, and that's a good question. So, I mean, I've gone on record and said that, like, we have 60,000 students at UF, 60,000. And we only have 500 or so athletes. So less than 1% of our student body are athletes. And the state is making mandatory financial literacy classes, which I love. And we've been doing at Florida since 1979, actually. So I'm sure when you were there was some kind of financial literacy classes, I hope. At least that's what I was told. But like I said, hey, like, as part of your AA in the state of Florida, you should be required to take a 3-credit class on that. But also going back to your original question about speaking, to 500 athletes or at scale, or, I have office hours, 6 hours a week during the season or during the year that I just go where my philosophy is go where the athletes are. And then I tell the athletes to go where the fans are, go where the companies are, right? Whether that's, online on Twitter or social or in the community. But, today I actually had a Zoom with one of our track athletes. He's in California right now. And we just spoke for, I think, like 30, 40 minutes just about what are your goals? Do you want to be a walking billboard? He has about 4,000 or so followers on Instagram. So he's not, a superstar, but he's relevant, right? And saying, all right, you want to find an agent. Let's find an agent that has a portfolio with athletes similar to you. Not only your following, but your brand, what you look like, everything, what you feel like, everything inside. So that's kind of a part of it too. And then, that's just part of like all of the parts of the strategy. And I'm open to speaking with every athlete that reaches out to me. And I try to reach out, like you said, it's hard to communicate. So they don't check their emails, but text and everything. But also, to be fair, if you get into Florida, you are smart. Like, are you kidding me right now? Like, it's a top 5 public school, and I backdoored. I went from community college into UF, but I didn't go to college until I was 21. So every day I'm impressed by, the students on campus, and it's humbling. And they know, I learn from them. And so that's part of it too. I don't know everything, and I'm a constant learner.
When you mentioned something that I think is really, really intriguing. You said, if you're going to get an agent, make sure you get one that works for you. I got to talk about an agent when I was getting ready to go, get drafted. It was very, very humbling, but I'm in the compliance office. I'm in there with Mike Speak, who is still at Florida right now, right? And I'm not asking questions. It's me, my mother, and, Eugene Parker, may he rest in peace. And, and my agent that I ended up getting, Joe Siegel, sat down. But they would ask me a question, and Joe and Speak and Ashley would answer it. They asked me a question: how do you guys do the best job of helping them, but also telling them, listen, I can only do so much to protect. You're gonna pick who you want, but at the same time, it is my job to help you filter out. Because look, a full disclosure: when you go pro, agent can only get 3%. That's the most. These agents now, I mean, the percentage that they're getting of these young people's money is so high. I didn't even know you could do that. How do you do that, balancing act of saying, I'm trying my best to protect you, but and I'm just talking about the shady agents. The shady agents are the best sellers of what they do. They are really, really good at it. How do you do that, balancing act with trying to protect the athlete, but understand ultimately they're gonna make the decision?
Yeah. So I mean, we have a lot of resources like that we've kind of aggregated, if you will. So, one of our athletes, her name is Leah Clapper, she made kind of like a checklist of, do you need an agent, right? And I'll sit down and we'll go through those questions. Savannah Bailey from GatorMade has a pamphlet in the GatorMade office that's like the steps to figure out if an agent is one right for you. And basically, it's just a marketing agent, right? And wherever you are on the value of your product, of who you are, you also have to think about how much time they're going to invest in it, right? So if it's a real large agency, they're probably not going to invest the time, energy, and money in someone that their best deal will be $500, right? Because that's the skin in the game for them isn't great. So I would encourage athletes to be their own agent and work together in teams to communicate. Like what your original question was, how do we do the shady bad ones? I encourage our athletes to reach out to the athletes that are part of those agencies, right? Especially when you can tell that, that similar following, if they're from the same sport, their dress, their style, everything, who they are as a person. Someone's brand is who they are, so that's, you can tell and they'll be honest with you. So that's kind of how I do that part of it.
Talking with Ben Chase, director of NIL and strategy at the University of Florida, knowing all things NIL. But I got to ask this. Okay, most people aren't marketable. That's just life. That's just how life is. There's this guy, about 6'4", 245, jump out the gym, just a freak by the name of Anthony Richardson. How was it working? How was it? I want to say, how pleasant was it working with a guy for which, I mean, he has it all. Every checklist, right? Got the James Earl Jones voice, him and his little brother, by the way. Jesus Christ. But at the same time, how was it working with an athlete so high profile? But I only hear good things when it comes to working with a guy like that.
Yeah, so I joined in January after he had already left. But I would say that similar athletes on campus, like a Trinity Thomas, is, she is as marketable, especially right now. I mean, she just tied the record for most tens in the country. But those athletes are ones that are also, there's two ways to gain following: performing on the field or creating. And if you are not an athlete like myself, you have to be a creator. And at UF, there's probably 30, 40 true creators, actually influencers, that actually do TikToks and Instagram reels, stuff like that. So if you're not in that, the only eyes that you're going to get in a following are from showing up on Saturdays, showing up on Friday nights, showing up whenever, and performing at the highest level, right? So if you aren't in one of those two buckets, then you're just what everyone else was, and you're just what I am. You are a professional at whatever you're doing, and it doesn't, like, just because you can make money off your NIL doesn't mean you will, doesn't mean you want to. I know plenty of athletes that are like, I'm good, like, I'm just here to do my job. I'm here to, I don't want to be an influencer. A lot of our our male athletes they're like, nah, that's try hard, that's cringe, because that's true. I mean,
yeah,
like I just had that road trip, and that's because I'm shameless. But there's not a lot of people out there like that want to go for it, to be creative. So that's that part. So working with those that have it both, Trinity has it both. Anthony Richardson had some fun videos, and he had a team, so that's probably a benefit too. Like, those are unicorns, and not everyone's going to be a unicorn. That's okay. We have athletes that aren't superstars. That I would tell you this: there's an athlete on campus right now that has one of the biggest deals that I've seen reported, true NIL, and they're not even in like the rotation or starting for their team, but they are a influencer, a creative, and that's the other part of it. You either get eyes on the field or you get eyes as a creative, and dollars follow eyes.
You just mentioned that you're shameless. You mentioned a college road trip. There was a certain someone by the name of Ben Chase that was on a college football road trip that went to this guy Ryan's house in a garage. I mean, I want to know a little more about what happened in the garage on the college football road trip.
Yeah, so I have a history of making like strategically dumb bets that like I know have a very good odds of losing. And last year on the road trip, I went to 77 games, and I said if Florida loses Kentucky or Texas beats Alabama, I would eat 3 hot dogs with Bijan Musterson, which is mustard based off of the running back Bijan Robinson, and I'd drink 2 cups of coffee with mayo in it, which is the thing that Will Levis did. And Ryan can attest, I did all of that, and I passed on washing it down with a beer, but I did do all of it.
So hold on. You say you do bets that got a good shot of winning or not winning them?
Not winning. Like, I do bets that are like they're so like likely to lose that people are like, you are crazy. So back-to-back years, I bet that I said, if Kentucky wins, I'll do this, knowing that we were likely going to lose to Kentucky. Also, after the first year, there is a certain linebacker on the Gators right now that said that he would do it with me, and I'm not going to call him out, but I'm just saying that there is a linebacker that does owe me the unpeeled bananas. That's the other part. So I ate, 3 hot dogs, 2 unpeeled bananas, and 1 cup of coffee mayo. That's what it was, unpeeled bananas. So there's a current active player on the team that at one point I will hold him to the fire for it.
So basically, what it sounds like is you need to stay the hell away from whatever the hell Will Levis is like little crazy little fetishes up, because he got the stuff that he does. Listen, now it is good. Number one, I got to kind of root for him now because he got drafted to my Titans. Thank you, Rand. Thank you, Rand Carthon, former teammate, first black GM at Tennessee Titans history. But you do realize, though, Ben, it only gets more weird, right? Like he started with the mayo, then. Now, this thing, right? When he was eating the banana, I'm like, he ain't even changing his facial expression or nothing. Like, I realize people want fiber in their diet, but that's a bit much.
He owned it, and honestly, like, I would say that the coffee is worse. I don't drink coffee, so that was worse for me. But it was definitely a bit, and I respect a good bit. So, like, I'm debating. So right now we're in the College World Series. And if we win one more game, we'll be in the final. And I'm debating firing Betty up and headed up there. So we'll see about that. And I won't make any bets, but I may say like, hey, like if this gets, I'll hit the road for $1,000 toward our NIL program or something. I'm debating on doing that.
Hold on. So okay, you in Ryan's garage. Ryan is watching you do this. How was Ryan's face? Is he looking at you like, he's about to do it?
He went to the bathroom. I remember him specifically saying, "I may throw up right now." Am I wrong, Ryan? Like, you definitely didn't say that. Yeah. He did have to.
Right. It's funny, right? When I say Ryan, man, this way I to Ryan. We about to have Ben Chase on the show. He said, "Oh, Ben, that's the homie, man. That's the homie." I said, "Oh, wait a minute." He said, "Yeah, me and Ben, we've been friends for a while." I said, "Oh, so he got dirt on you?" He said, "Yeah, but I got dirt on him too. So it's not. You don't want to get to asking about dirt on me because it'll go." But are you telling me right now, Ben? So Will Levis, he's with the Titans now. He's up there in Nashville, Tennessee, Country Music USA. Music City USA, beautiful. His weirdness is gonna keep coming out because people are gonna keep asking him, "What's next, Will? What else? The next thing gonna be, he gonna eat a Nashville hot chicken dipped in water, just something nasty."
Well, I'm hoping I'm done with Will Levis, but isn't there a new quarterback, Will Leary? Who's the new Kentucky quarterback? I'm hoping.
Yeah. So hold on. So are you telling me that the old Will has already influenced the new Will to be weird because he did it?
I'm hoping that the Devin Leary, that's what it is. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like to have a good time. I think that's one of the things about me that people on Twitter can make fun of me, but also like I am serious too. But yeah. I'm gonna lean into whatever. We'll see. And you can also Will Levis the first time. So that was the second time I did the coffee and mayo thing. The first time I did it when we lost, Will like responded to my Twitter and was like respected it because I was a man of my word.
You don't drink coffee when you finally do. You got to put mayo in it. Oh my freaking God! I give you a lot of credit because I will say this: there are, and I'm not making this a male female thing, but there are certain things amongst men. You keep it when it comes to bets. We usually keep our word. Like that's the one thing that you'll take the most easygoing person to say, "Well, I used to respect him, but he hasn't paid up on his." Like you pay up, and the best bets are ones that don't require money. Those are the best ones. Because it has to have a witness. It's not gonna be on video. No, I got to be here in person. And you finally make it to Ryan's crib, and Ryan's like, "Hey man, I got the decaf. I got. Did you use Miracle Whip or real mayonnaise?"
We got I think it was real mayonnaise. We went to the store and got 3 hot dogs. He had one, and it was like 10 in the morning too. So they were like they probably were just put on or they're from overnight. But there is video evidence. It wasn't just him. Like it's all over social and on YouTube. So it's there. That's probably the reason I can't keep a girlfriend for more than 6 weeks. Honestly, it's because I make these crazy bets and then I own them and I just do it. So if anything, I like to have a good time. If you've ever watched Game of Thrones, they say a Lannister always pays his debts. Ben always pays his bets. So like it's one of those things. I make sure that I have a good time with it.
Talking with Ben Chase, director of NIL at the University of Florida, the man of the people, the man that keeps his bets. I'm gonna pay up the bets, but very, very relatable. Because when I hear NIL, I hear relatability. And people can't, because they're trying to relate to something that is about as unlike them as it gets. When I'm talking about these brands and these brand ambassadors, as I like to call these student athletes, it's so much about money. I'm in radio, I'm in media, and I understand trade. To me, I've learned it is much easier to ask for the goods and services of that company than the money. Have you talked to the student athletes about the importance of saying, listen, you got a shot of having longevity with this company long after your playing days if you only asking to partner with them through their products, goods, and services?
Yeah, I mean, there's some of our our athletes that I ask them, what do you spend your money on in Gainesville? Do you go to yoga? There's plenty of our athletes right now that get free yoga by just posting that they're at the yoga studio, right? So like they may not have $100 a month deal, but they're saving $100 a month on yoga, right? Or like if you're regular at Chicken Salad Chick, you know, and you're a softball player, and Chicken Salad Chick is a sponsor of the softball team, right? Why don't you talk to them? These are real life examples that I'm mentioning. So like that's something I encourage them to do. You know, if you can't, I went to NIL Summit with 9 of our athletes, and one of them was like, Ben, can you find me a deal with like Apple for their big AirPod things? And I was like, how much are they? And she was like, $700. I said, why don't we just find like 3 deals that will add up to $700? Because I'm probably not going to get you a deal with Apple. You know, like so that's part of it too. Or like 3 things that like you're spending $700 on that we can pull away. You know, like that's, so I try to think differently, right? Like if you want a car deal, that means that you need to get insurance on it. You know, you're going to pay for gas, whatever, like, or you can get enough money to cover the car note or the lease note or whatever, and not have to like worry about all the other stuff. And so it's kind of, I never say no, but I'm like, let's take a pause and kind of see if there's a better way to do this.
What it sounds like you saying is what they saying and what you hearing is they come at you with a very, I mean, can you get me to deal with that? And in your mind, you like, I don't want to, before I tell you no, let me tell you why I'm gonna tell you no. Because yes, there's Apple over there, and I get it. Apple want to be at the NIL Summit. I want to be where the best student athletes are, but they're here for a certain one. They hope that the one they want to see is here, and they're approaching them, not the other way around. But you make a good point when you said, when you go, well, because people hear this and go, wait a minute, yeah, man, they're not just giving out, you got to have insurance. They're not just gonna give an 18, 19-year-old a car and say, hey man, see you when you graduate. No, it doesn't. It's like you still got to pay insurance. You still got to lease it. You still got to. And I think when they hear that and you go, okay, somebody got to pay for this, and that somebody is you. What? Yes, like we see Bijan, Robinson driving the Lamborghini. Listen to me, people. Love Bijan because he played for my Falcons. Shout out to Bijan. But
shout out Bijan.
If you think Lamborghini love Bijan Robinson, Matthew McConaughey is the biggest Texas Longhorn you're gonna see. He's saying all right now, and he ain't even. So when people, that's the part that I think people don't get. I go, look, Bijan, the likelihood of Bijan leaving the city limits of Austin is 0%. They're like, look, you can drive around Austin all you want. You're not finna see a farmland in South Texas with a Lamborghini. But people don't understand that but I got to say this about you though, when you say, look, it is my job to educate in the moment. Like they got education, but when they come to me, I'm gonna say, listen, I'm gonna give you come to me with, possibilities. I give you probability. Nah, man, it's not. But that's the part that I think that people don't understand about you too is, man, y'all see director of NIL, y'all hear he knows everything about it. No, I know a lot about it, but we in 2023. Where is NIL 10 years from now, you think?
Well, I wouldn't be shocked if there's a rev share for, football, men's basketball, when it comes to TV dollars. I would be shocked if we didn't have that. And then on the other side, I mean, you're asking, what does the creator economy look like in 10 years? I don't know. We have these new Apple, like, $300 and $3,500 things. I wouldn't be shocked if there's half the people in the stadium are watching games with these things on, and they got cool, video AR stuff going on too. So I in 10 years from now, the SEC, Big Ten, and one other like mega conference could be separated from college football, like the NCAA, and say, hey, this is the Power 50, right? 50 schools. And maybe there's a second league and there's like regulation where it's like college, it's like soccer across and then, hey, these 50 schools share this revenue, right? And then that could be it, right? I don't think we're going to lose the donor collective side, right? That's out of the bag. If there's table stakes for, if every school gets the same royalty for their athletes being on TV, that's not going to change the competitive recruiting of it. I don't know what's going to happen with the nonprofit collective. So you have, millionaires and billionaires contributing to a nonprofit. But I will say that our coaches are making millions of dollars and they work for a nonprofit, right? So that's the argument that collectives are making. Our stadium is built and it's going to be, renovated here shortly. And that's built because of a nonprofit. So like I wouldn't be shocked if there's that's the next big thing. I think 2024 is the great audit in NIL, right? We had we had IRS coming out. We had 2021, now it's legal, NIL. 2022, you better get a collective. 2023, hold on, the government needs its taxes. Please take a step back. Oh, all the states are scrambling. 2024, the IRS is like, hey, let's take a step back here and check, do a checks and balances. So that's my 3 or 4 year projection. 10 years from now, I think that my role will be completely different because we'll be in the second era of the third era of the influencer economy. Everyone's going to want to be an influencer.
Before I let you out of here, man, I mean, listen, relatability, keeping your bets. I think you call your Betsy, so I'm gonna fire her up.
Betty White.
Get on the road with her.
Betty White. Yeah, she's right there. She's right there.
Betty White.
Betty White.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What is the coolest part of your role? Because everybody wants a certain. Let's say everybody wants to roll at the University of Florida. I get it. They want to work there. I get it. But you do it. And the thing about it is, you don't listen. You're not involved in the day-to-day planning of any sport, not the X's and the O's, but you almost keep the product happy in a sense. Like, hey man, they coming. Hey man, Ben, what? Help them get this. What is the funnest part about being Chase Rowe, being the NIL director and strategy at Florida?
I think the thing that brings me most joy is when a coach or a player just sends me like a text that says thank you, because like in my role, I'm not a part of an entire team, right? I work for every team. I don't when the new shoes drop on Twitter or Instagram, I'm not getting any of those. And I get people texting me, I'm a size 12, I'm a size 13. So let me know if you get it. Like, let me know. Right. So, but for me, I think the coolest part is being surrounded by greatness at all times, right? From top to bottom. What is that? We have a Hall of Fame Heisman quarterback, one floor up for me, Steve Spurrier. I walk by and I see Katie Ledecky. I've never met Katie Ledecky, and I will tell you this: there's no one on campus I am more starstruck than Katie Ledecky. Tim Tebow could be on campus. Whoever, Urban Meyer. I want to be best friends with her. I heard she likes movies. But I would say like being surrounded by greatness and different things that athletes from all over the world, and being able to go into the Hebner Center, our new sports complex, and just sit there and say that person's an Olympian. That person's going to be a top 5 draft pick in the MLB next season, and they're working their butts off, and I'm working my butts off for them.
He is Ben Chase. He is the director of NIL and strategy in Florida. Listen, might be in a town near you real soon, depending on the bet. As long as you got gas, money, and old Betty White is outside. He might be on his way to Ryan House right now when he gets off this podcast, because he might have because the thing about the Florida Gators, if you haven't heard, undefeated right now. Next stop, semis. And the thing about it is, if you own any heart medication, don't watch Florida baseball. You ain't gonna win the game, but you're gonna have a heart attack if you watch the whole game. Because the best baseball in baseball is postseason, whether that's pro or college. It is the best baseball you're going to see, because until it says the last out, bottom of the ninth, anything can and will happen. I am being true. Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off on cutting.
No, you good. No, you good.
I was going to say, I'm very grateful to be here. I never dreamed of being in this role. It didn't exist 5 months ago, or working for the Gators. I didn't go to college until I was 21. So like for me, this is, it's off in space. But also I like the people that listen to this to think about like college. Nothing in our country brings people together more than college athletics, right? If you look right now on TV and you look in Omaha, it is packed. You have, LSU's kicking our butt on the shot thing, but they've also spent $45,000 on Jello shots, which is crazy to me. Please put that in our NIL budget, not on Jello shots. But like, to me, I just want people to understand that, we're 0-0 in football. We're 0-0 in men's and women's basketball. But in 12 weeks or however long until the end of the season, like we're still all Gators. We still all love the school. And, you know, on my road trip, the one thing I learned is, again, nothing brings people together more than college athletics. And like, when you put on this orange and blue, when you rep the Gators, like you are a part of a family, and that is special. And nothing that happens on the field should take away your joy. A 17 to 23-year-old should not affect your mood more than 30 minutes after the game, you know, right? Like I actually, one of my friends, he texted me after the Florida State game, and he was like waiting outside the stadium, and he was upset about the game until he saw like our team, like some of our players crying after the game because it was their last game with their brothers, not because they lost the game, but because of that family, right? So like, you know, at the end of the game, like at the end of the season, like we may be frustrated, we may be elated, but we're together. And I hope that people realize that. And I'm very grateful for having you on. I'm sorry that I cut you off.
No, man, you're good. Listen, I think what you said is very, very important. I think sometimes when you watching a sport, you get so caught up in the sport and the outcome, you forget these are very, very young people playing this sport. They want to win. They want to win more than you can't stand them losing. They hate losing because they're the ones putting in the work. They're the ones going through treatment. They're the ones giving every single thing they can. And sometimes the other team just has a better day that day. But I always say this. Would you rather root for anybody else? Like if somebody said, and God forbid, okay, well, since you got so much to say about Florida, you got to root for Florida State. You got to root for Georgia. You got to root for Tennessee. It ain't worth that. It ain't. Oh, here it is. You got to wear your rival team's colors. Because the question I always have is, what would you rather have? The hardest question to answer is, do you want to see the team you love win, or do you want to see the team you hate lose? That is the hardest question to answer because you can't stand them other guys. But Florida is everywhere. It not just in the state of Florida. It is everywhere. The Gators are, John Gruden said it is a global brand. Global. Yeah. And look, man, Scott Strickland didn't realize what he was signing up for. He thought, hey, man, football season over, I'm good. Nope, you got basketball season, you got track, and they intertwine with each other. But like you said, when people see that shirt and they say, man, they say, you play for the Gators? You go, no. What you do for the Gators? Oh, I'm a director of NIL. And I drink coffee with a peel in it. I eat bananas with the peel still on. I eat hot dogs with Bijan mustard. But more importantly, I rep them boys from Gainesville. We're not a major city. We just a big deal, a huge deal in the world of sports. But hey, man, the pleasure is all mine having you on because I think it's important for me. I say this: if it's Gators, you want this podcast is for y'all. These conversations because I don't have it's not based on who did it, when you did it. My daughter plays soccer, man, and one person that made me feel good, I walk in and I see who's sponsoring it, Abby Wambach. She's sponsoring, a league that my daughter is in. I'm looking at my daughter saying, you know what it is? My daughter says, no. I said, girl, it'll take me 30 days to tell you Abby Wambach. And to me, that's what I do this for. It's not because it's not a hierarchy. It's, hey, man, if they rep orange and blue, and that's that royal blue, not that Auburn blue or that Kentucky blue, that royal. We see it. That's why I said I got to have Ben on, man. That way, hopefully, fans, lovers of Florida, lovers of college sports will understand. You just here to make sure the college experience for these student athletes is the best you can provide. Hey, man, that's what we do. And Betty White might be on the road.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually gonna, after this call, I'm gonna actually head to Orlando to see Coach Kelly Ray and Coach Golden speak. So Betty White's gonna be fired up here in a few hours to head to my hometown, Orlando. So yeah, it's nonstop.
Tell Coach Kelly Ray to stop ducking, man. I got a chance to meet Coach Kelly Ray when I was doing a autograph signing event with my new book down there at Florida Hill down there off of Archer, and she walked in. So tell Coach Kelly Ray, number one, I want that heat on her feet. She always got to. Her joys always be different. They don't even introduce her.
Kelly's Kicks is a thing on Instagram. For every game, they have a feature of Kelly's Kicks on Twitter. She's incredible. I got lucky to see her speak at a booster event right at the end of the season, and there was not a dry eye in the house. Like, it was incredible. So I know that we're still rambling here, but I can talk about her all day. She's She cares.
Listen, I'm being true. That's being Chase. He's a man of the people. Listen, and listen. If you own our four, and you hear somebody say "Go Gators" and get out of the way, that's being Chase move.
That's me.
I got somewhere.
Benny and Betty, we're just out here doing business. All right. I appreciate you guys.
Benny and Betty, listen. Benny and Betty out here doing business. Benny and Betty is doing business with being true. He is being Chase. It's 84 Reasons. No games, no gimmicks. Not my reasons, his. And we out of here.